Hey, thanks for joining me for another episode of Ask Princess. The topic of today is World AIDS Day. I'm on the East Coast. It's after 3 a.m. So pretty much across the country, it is officially December 1st. The first ever World AIDS Day was held in 1988. So for over 20 plus years, there has been a global united front, a globally recognized day where people can reflect on the fight for HIV and AIDS. Also on this day, it means different things to different people, whether you reflect on family members or friends or people that you know who have HIV and AIDS or may have passed away, or you're someone who works with people with HIV and AIDS and you see the impact that it has on their lives. So I think we're going to go a little bit into statistics and then, kind of have like a free-for-all session. So right now, even though it is 2011, we still are faced with an epidemic. Right now there is 1.1 million, let me say that again, 1.1 million Americans that are affected with HIV. The UK is very close in numbers behind us. It's like 90,000 people. Globally, it is believed that 33.3 million people are affected with HIV. 33.3 million people globally. It is also believed that 1 in every 5 people, or one person out of 5, doesn't even know that they have it. So, got random people walking around. They don't know that they have it because they don't really experience any symptoms yet. Or maybe if they experience symptoms, they never had it checked out. As far as the U.S., 2011 marks the 30th year or the 30th anniversary of the first reported case. The first reported case in the U.S. was documented in 1981, and actually around that time it was about 5 cases together that they kind of linked and was like, hey, this is more than just some type of flu or some type of craziness. These people are coming down with weird, strange illnesses that usually you only get with weakened immune systems. So like the first group of reported cases pretty much came 30 years ago. Currently, the most affected right now are minorities, especially black people. Very high rates. I don't have the actual numbers, but statistically, minorities, especially blacks, have a higher rate than any group right now. Women, especially young women, like 18 to 34-ish, very high rate. That's one of the fastest growing rates of newly infected HIV patients. And which is even more disturbing, older people, like senior citizens, people that are like in their 60s, their 70s, they are starting to see an increase in HIV, new HIV cases. So it's not just discriminating. That population is on the rise as well. And it's crazy. Even though I guess it's not officially, documented as being a group, but a lot of undereducated people are really on the rise. They're really the most affected, whether they're getting it through sex or sharing needles or whatever the case may be. They're not informed, they're not educated, so they really don't know how to protect themselves. Those numbers, are pretty much scattered throughout in all of the major groups. Now, being that it's 2011, really, you would think we would know better. We would, to decrease these numbers. Because, 1.1 million in 2011, that's a lot. But just in case you didn't know, some of the main causes, or pretty much the causes or the ways that you can transmit the virus would be through sharing needles. The way a lot of people combat that is that a lot of communities now have needle share programs. You bring your old needles, they give you fresh needles. No, they're not really condoning you using drugs, but if that's a demon that you have, something that you have, then they try to make you as safe as possible. Blood, breast milk. Now, I think I'm gonna do the breast milk first. They do believe now that it is possible for a mother to pass the virus on to the infant child through breast milk. So it's very important that when you're pregnant, you're tested, and that you start some type of regimen to keep your antibody levels down, as far as your HIV levels down, so that you do not pass it on to your child. Blood. Everyone seems to know that, but you can come in contact with blood in various ways, not necessarily just the typical ways. Of course, if you have a cut, when a child is born and goes through the birthing canal, it can contract HIV from the mother that way, through the blood. So there's different ways. Blood transfusions, even though those pose to be a lot safer now, they screen the blood a lot better than they did, say, in 1980, 1990, even 2000. So blood is very minimal in a medical setting, but it's still very possible in a private, personal setting. Unprotected sex is like the main way to transmit, and really that's how the majority of these newly infected cases are coming about. People are sleeping with people, tons of people, one person, and they're not protecting themselves. And again, like I said, for this being 2011, we should know a little bit better than we say 1981. But there's always someone who doesn't believe it's going to happen to them. There's always someone who, if it does happen to them, they don't care and they continue to spread it. And there's some people who does not know that it has happened to them. So if you are having sex, make sure you stay protected. And it's better to use latex condoms than, say, sheepskin, lambskin, whatever those are. And things like spermicide is also effective, I believe. At least it helps to some degree. But things like IUD, birth control pills, Norplant, if they even still use that, those are not effective in protecting you against HIV or any STD for that matter. Condoms is the way to go for that. If you're gonna, if you do use needles, find some type of community share program where you can get fresh needles in exchange for your dirty needles. And don't share your needles. Your needles are your needles. No, I'm not saying you should be shooting up, but if you're going to do it, keep your needles to yourself. Also, if you are pregnant, you should definitely be tested if you haven't been, and you should work with some type of medical healthcare professional on getting on some type of regimen so that you do not pass it to your child. Babies, there's about 2,000 babies born every day that's HIV positive, that really could be avoided. So really, I guess the message is you need to take care of yourself, know your status, get tested. There's a lot of benefits that go on for World AIDS Day. A lot of organizations that don't usually offer free HIV/AIDS testing, they do on World AIDS Day. There's a lot of activities that go on, from parades to seminars to workshops to things where you can get educated. And if you don't feel like falling in the norm and going and doing these things or getting educated today, you can always find other avenues and do it later. Some areas have free clinics that all year round they do HIV testing, they do HIV education, And really, when it boils down to it, the most important thing is education. Know your status, know your partner's status, and just know what it is that you're doing at all times. Well, with that note, I think I will close out the show. And you can always support local organizations by donating and getting the red ribbon, which is the symbol for HIV and AIDS. You can volunteer. You can, if you are HIV or AIDS positive, you can become a speaker to educate other people so that they don't necessarily have to become infected or fall in those particular footsteps. On those notes, I thank you for joining me, and you can follow me on Facebook at ask_princess. Thank you.